See live coverage here on CSPAN2.
Understand that you're getting a lot of pictures from the other news channels as well. You're looking at a live picture here in Washington of the U.S. Capitol and the Washington Monument, and we're using this to get your comments, to get your reaction. Denver, you're next. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm kind of upset. I just got up and heard the news. I'm a little upset that the world's going crazy but, you know, I think the only person we have to blame for it is Bush, because this is all what he wanted. He was in office the first week, and he was starting stuff with the other people. So this is what he wants. And I remember the day the world went crazy.
Thanks, caller. We were able to show you some of the, move the camera around, you can see some of the people who are leaving the U.S. Capitol, whether they're reporters and others. Also, one could expect that the World Trade Center has collapsed. One of the buildings of the World Trade Center has collapsed as a result of what has happened. And we'll get a call from North Carolina. Good morning.
Good morning. On a sad morning, thanks for taking the call. If it's not obvious to the rest of the country, there are those of us in this country who didn't buy into the fact that the Cold War is over, who didn't buy into the fact that this new world order was somehow going to bring us all sweet dreams and we're all going to be drinking free Bubble Up. We have enemies coming down our chimneys in this country. We have they are a lot of times sponsored by larger countries like China. So what do we do to prevent this? We take our money to Walmart and give it to the Chinese to help arm Iraq, Iran, Yemen, who basically kicked our FBI agents out of the country after the USS Cole was bombed, and the rest of the country needs to call their representatives and let's start being Americans first, look at national independence, and start putting up some tougher stances across the board. One of our big problems in this country is we empower the Middle Eastern Arabs with our oil money.
Thanks very much for the call. We're also now getting word that there is a fire at the State Department. Let's read what the Associated Press is saying, that major government institutions, including the Treasury and the State Department, have been evacuated. Paul Begala, a familiar figure, a Democratic consultant, used to work for President Bill Clinton, said that he witnessed an explosion near the Pentagon. It was a huge fireball, a huge orange fireball, Paul Begala said in an interview on his cell phone. He and another witness told him that a helicopter exploded and that the tail of that, let me read that. He said another witness told him a helicopter exploded. AP reporter David Winslow also saw the crash. He said, I saw the tail of a large airliner. It plowed right into the Pentagon. The Sears Tower in Chicago has also been evacuated, and so what we're seeing this morning, some pretty dramatic developments, and we know that you're seeing a lot of the pictures from the other news channels, and you're seeing some of the pictures here in Washington of what the explosion looks like at the Pentagon, which is just a couple of miles away from the U.S. Capitol. Security very tight here in Washington. Los Angeles, good morning. You're on C-SPAN. Go ahead, please.
I want to say that this is a horrible act, and I'm agreeing with a lot of people that call in, a lot of common sensible Americans. And I'm going to ask that the media does not divulge any information that could be used against our country again. You know, like filming the Air Force One, you know, the showing all that stuff. Don't put that on TV. I'd rather wait to find out later on.
Boulder Creek, California, you're next on C-SPAN.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
You're on the air, caller. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd just like to agree with one of the previous callers that this country has to get serious about the fact that we live in a country with other nations. And we had the opportunity to go to the racism conference, and we just absolutely said no. And I think that, unfortunately, this kind of stuff is going to happen. And to think that we're Fortress America and we can just back off and we're going to kill whoever we don't like, or we're going to, it's just not going to work. We have to look at it and see what's going on in this country. We have a president that was not elected, and now this is happening too. So I'm pretty concerned about the whole thing.
Thanks, caller. Cleveland, you're next. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, caller.
On?
You sure are. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the Israeli settlements that they are building in the area that was taken during that war, I have read in the paper that is illegal. But I think probably since Reagan, the presidents are looking the other way, and this country's looking the other way. So it seems that if they were to, stop those settlements, give that land back to the Palestinians, maybe the Palestinians wouldn't be hating us so much and bombing us.
Thanks very much for the call. And again, let me try to be very clear on this based on a lot of the calls that are coming through. We simply don't know, at least nothing has been reported as to exactly what has happened, who is responsible. The FBI has confirmed that they are looking into acts of terrorism here in Washington, D.C., at the Pentagon, elsewhere in the nation's capital, and of course earlier this morning in New York City. One of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center has collapsed. Two planes crashed into that structure, 110 stories high, one at about 8:50 this morning and one just past 9 o'clock this morning. And we're also told that a portion of the second tower appears to have collapsed as well as the smoke continues to obscure those towers. Trading has come to a halt at the New York Stock Exchange because of all of this. President Bush is on his way back from Sarasota, Florida, and he was there for an education event. And we continue to monitor all of this and to get your reactions. So, but we just don't know beyond that who is responsible. Corpus Christi, Texas, good morning.
Good morning. My question is, I didn't hear whether it was inside terrorism or outside the country terrorism.
We don't know.
My question is, where was our radar?
Thanks for the call. Lincoln, Nebraska, good morning to you.
Morning. I want to make a comment here to offer my sympathy for the victims and the families of the plane crash in the World Trade Center and on the streets. And on any given day, when reading the news in the newspaper and the incidences of fighting, killing, and wars, they've always involved Muslims. If we had let Nazis move around freely during World War II, there would have been a very similar problem. But instead, we wiped them out. We need to evict all Muslims from this country and never let them into this country, even for visits.
Thanks, caller. All airlines in the United States have been halted this morning because of what's happened. The Chicago Sears Tower has been evacuated, as we would expect a number of other buildings around the country because of what's happened. A fire at the Pentagon because of either a helicopter crash or a plane crash into that structure, which houses sensitive military operation and most of the more than 20,000 employees at the U.S. Pentagon. All of this happening during the height of rush hour between 8:30 and 9:45 this morning here in Washington and in New York City. We'll continue with your phone calls. Plainfield, New Jersey, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. I would like to just say that I think this is a tragedy, and that the United States needs to, evaluate the situation and be a little bit more update with the terrorists and everything.
Thanks, caller. Live pictures from the Pentagon. Daytona Beach, Florida, good morning.
Hi. I'm just curious why the Air Force hasn't scrambled any jets yet. It seems like I heard they evacuated the Sears Tower, which is good because they might attack other financial, like Chicago. But you don't see any jets in there. They showed Air Force One taking off. He doesn't have any jet escorts, and President Bush is on the plane. This is horrifying. God bless all the victims. Thank you.
Thanks, caller. Huntington Beach, California, good morning.
Good morning. I see this as an opportunity for George Bush to use this as his argument for a missile defense shield, and I'm sure the Democrats will back down, afraid that the public will be in support of this. I argue that this is exactly why a missile defense shield will not work. We're an open and free society, and in an open and free society, it is easy for these kind of people to move within our boundaries.
Thanks, caller. You're looking at live pictures from the Pentagon. Aptos, California, good morning.
Good morning. I just think it's an interesting coincidence that the stock market has crashed coincidentally to this incident.
What's the connection?
A lot of countries have done it in the past where the leaders will do undercover things in order to make other people seem like they're the culprits.
Thanks, caller. Kansas City, good morning.
Oh, how you doing today?
Good morning to you.
Yes, I'm sitting here looking at the pictures, and I kind of wonder if you had any closer shots. I'm sort of interested that if there's anybody that you've seen in biohazard suits. I understand that a lot of radioactive or nuclear weapons can be detected by satellite.
However, I don't think if you crashed a plane that big that you would do it with a nuclear interest. You might do it with a biohazard interest or some type of a thing like that. So I wondered if you saw anybody in suits or if that's the reason they're evacuating the area.
You're looking at the pictures just like we are, and the evacuation obviously based on what's happening at the Pentagon with an aircraft that has crashed into that military building, the Pentagon in Washington. Warren, Michigan is next. Good morning.
Hi. I just wanted to say that anytime somebody calls up on a program like yours and badmouths our president, I think that they encourage this kind of stuff to continue. So I would like to think that people who have any kind of negative opinions about our president should maybe keep their opinions to themselves.
Arlington, Virginia, good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to express my regrets and sympathy to the victims. I must admit, I am not shocked. I am shocked, but I'm not surprised. When I was in New York in the 90s with visitors, a Persian cab driver said, "You Americans are crazy for all the people you let in your country. In fact, all of us drivers are foreigners, and we know where every sensitive building, military installation in New York is. Why don't you watch who you let in?"
Thanks, caller.
Thank you.
Ron Fournier of the Associated Press has more information on what's happening at the Pentagon and will continue to show you pictures. General Richard Myers, who is the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said that prior to the crash into the Pentagon, military officials had been notified that another hijacked plane had been heading from the New York area to Washington. He said he assumed that the hijacked plane was the one that hit the Pentagon, although he could not be sure. There has been a second explosion at the Pentagon. You're looking at live pictures as it happens, and we're opening up our phone lines to get your reaction. Temple, Texas, good morning.
Good morning. I think my comments should be to anyone that is doubting our country in respect to our leaders, and let them understand that, we are all worried and concerned about this, and I'm just a person looking at TV like everyone else, and I'm scared. But I know that our leaders are in place to take care of this, and we need to pray for our nation.
Thanks, caller. Fallon, Nevada, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I think that we're trying to blame the government and everything else for what's going on here, like i.e. the president, i.e. the Congress, i.e. everything else. But what we should have done, and we should have kept it up, we should have kept our military strong. That way this kind of thing wouldn't happen. We downgraded the military. We let our guards down. We didn't close our borders. And here we are, folks. So now we got to do is clean up. So we need to get our people scrambled and get moving and get all this stuff taken care of so we can get on with taking care of the threat.
Mobridge, South Dakota, good morning.
Please, please, Americans, stick together. This could happen to any president of today. Don't bash Bush. It wasn't his fault. Get together, pray for the people that are lost. Get a life.
Thanks for the call. Next is Elkton, Virginia. Good morning.
I've been listening to the program this morning, and I've heard a lot of comments, but I'd just like to say that, first of all, I just am so sorry for all the people who have lost their lives and are hurt. I think our nation needs to realize this is a terrible thing to happen to us, and I understand that. But we need, instead of accusing someone, our president and anybody else that's in authority, but we need to turn our hearts this morning to God, because he's the only hope we have.
Mobile, Alabama.
Hello, am I on the air?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I'm so glad to have been able to get on this morning under these circumstances. But anyway, my comment is that the United States has always terrorized and bombed other countries and killed other people. And the Bible tells us that if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. So we just reap what we sow. And let me say this also, that this country has been under a curse from God ever since George Bush was illegally put into office. And it's just a sad situation.